"Get out of my way! You're fired!" The shouts inside the cafe caught everyone's attention. This story happened not long ago. At the Busy Bean Cafe in downtown Chicago, Michael Thompson, a young 24-year-old barista, manned his station with a dexterity that belied his recent personal loss. The death of his mother, which occurred just a few days ago, still cast a heavy shadow over his spirit, but Michael strove to maintain his gentle smile as he served each customer. On this particularly busy morning, an elderly couple entered through the automatic doors of the cafe, pausing hesitantly in front of the new digital menu installed above the counter. Harold and Martha Jenkins, with their puzzled expressions and exchanged glances of confusion, seemed lost in the sea of technological choices. Noticing their struggle, Michael didn't hesitate. He quickly wiped his hands on his apron and stepped out from behind the counter, approaching the couple with a welcoming smile. "Can I help you find something special today?" Michael asked, his voice a calm and comforting presence amidst the hubbub of the place. Harold, a man with silver hair and thick-rimmed glasses, looked at Michael and nodded gratefully. "Oh yes, young man. We're a bit lost with this new system," he admitted, while Martha, dressed in a light blue coat and a floral scarf, smiled in agreement. With patience and care, Michael guided the couple through the menu, explaining each drink option and the differences between coffee blends, origins, and brewing methods. He even recommended the homemade carrot cake, a favorite among regulars, noticing Martha's curiosity about the dessert options. "This one is smooth and slightly citrusy, great for pairing with our breakfast coffee," Michael explained, pointing to a Central American bean blend. Martha, with a sparkle in her eyes, turned to Harold, who nodded, impressed with the young barista's knowledge and attentiveness. Meanwhile, on the other side of the cafe, Derek Sanders, the manager, watched the scene with an increasingly stern expression. His focus on efficiency and fast service led him to view Michael's prolonged interaction as a breach of the quick service norms he valued so much. With a decision already forming in his mind, Derek only waited for Michael to return to the counter to call him for a conversation in the back of the cafe. This interaction, though brief, was about to dramatically alter the course of Michael's day, setting him on a path he could never have anticipated when he started his shift that bustling morning at Busy Bean. As Michael diligently assisted the elderly couple, his actions were under the watchful eye of Derek Sanders, his boss, who stood at a distance, arms folded, surveying the cafe floor. From Derek's perspective, Michael's approach, though well-intentioned, disrupted the carefully calibrated flow of the bustling cafe. Derek, a man driven by metrics and efficiency, regarded adherence to the cafe's fast service protocols as sacrosanct. In his view, every minute spent in excessive conversation was a minute stolen from potential transactions and hence revenue. The Busy Bean was not just a cafe but a well-oiled machine, designed to serve customers with a swift efficiency that Derek prided himself on. The introduction of digital menus was a strategic move to accelerate order times and reduce the interaction needed between staff and customers. Michael's personal touch, while appreciated by many, was in stark contrast to Derek's vision of a streamlined operation. As Michael wrapped up his interaction with Harold and Martha, explaining the last of the coffee options with a warm smile, Derek's patience thinned. He could no longer justify what he saw as a flagrant disregard for the cafe's operational standards. As soon as Michael said his goodbyes to the couple and they moved towards a table with satisfied nods, Derek seized the moment. He signaled to Michael, gesturing him to follow to a less crowded corner of the cafe, away from the curious eyes and ears of customers and other staff. This area, often used for quick staff briefings or to handle sensitive issues away from the public gaze, was the perfect spot for the kind of conversation Derek had in mind. With a stern expression fixed on his face, Derek wasted no time in addressing the issue at hand. He confronted Michael about his deviation from the cafe's service guidelines. The tone was not of inquiry, but of assertion, as Derek outlined what he perceived as a breach of protocol. Michael's personalized service, though commendable for its humanity, was seen as a liability to the operational tempo that Derek so rigorously enforced. Without room for a defense or explanation, Derek delivered his decision with a firmness that brooked no argument. He informed Michael that such behavior was unacceptable and, regrettably, it had consequences. Citing a clear violation of the cafe's service protocol, Derek terminated Michael's employment effectively immediately. Michael, taken aback by the swiftness and severity of the decision, collected his personal belongings under the shadow of Derek's disapproving gaze. His departure from behind the counter marked a significant turning point, not just in his day, but in the trajectory of his career. As he pushed through the cafe doors, stepping out into the bustling streets of Chicago, he was unaware of the series of events that were about to unfold. Events that would not only challenge his immediate future, but also lead to revelations that would shake the core of Busy Bean's management. As Michael gathered his belongings, his emotions a tangled mix of shock and sorrow, the door to the Busy Bean swung open, ushering in a gust of the brisk Chicago wind, and two figures that commanded immediate attention. The first was a woman with an authoritative air, her sharp gaze sweeping across the cafe as she entered. Beside her, a man in a meticulously tailored suit followed, his expression one of keen observation. These were no ordinary visitors. The woman was none other than Elizabeth Harper, the CEO of the Busy Bean chain, accompanied by one of her top executives. Their arrival was like a sudden shift in the weather, turning heads and slicing through the usual hum of activity with the sharp edge of surprise. Elizabeth Harper was a figure well known not only for her leadership, but also for her hands-on approach to her business. It was this very approach that had brought her directly to the cafe that day. Just moments before stepping through the door, she had received an anonymous message alerting her to a troubling incident at one of her locations. Intrigued and concerned, Elizabeth had decided to see for herself what was happening, prompting her immediate visit. The cafe, buzzing with the mid-morning rush, fell into a subtle hush as employees and customers alike noticed the unusual presence of their CEO. Derek Sanders, upon noticing Elizabeth, felt a sudden drop in his stomach. The color drained from his face as he quickly pieced together the reason for her unexpected visit. His earlier confidence faltered, replaced by a creeping dread that the situation with Michael might unfold into something far beyond a simple dismissal. Elizabeth's entry into the cafe wasn't just a show of authority. It was a clear sign that she valued direct oversight and was prepared to engage personally with any issue under her command. Her eyes scanned the room, taking in the faces of her employees, the layout of the cafe, and the customers enjoying their coffee. It was a comprehensive assessment, one that spoke of her desire to not only understand, but also to rectify any deviations from the company's standards. Michael, standing somewhat apart from the rest with his box of personal items, felt a surge of uncertainty. He was unaware of the identity of the person who had sent the message to Elizabeth, nor could he have anticipated that it would bring the CEO herself directly to the scene of his dismissal. The weight of the moment hung heavily upon him, stirring a mix of apprehension and a faint hope that perhaps this unexpected turn of events might lead to some resolution in his favor. As Elizabeth approached, her presence seemed to alter the very atmosphere of the cafe, introducing a new dynamic that promised to reshape the unfolding drama. Her approach was measured, her demeanor composed yet unmistakably concerned, as she prepared to address the situation that had compelled her to intervene so personally. As the tension in the cafe escalated, Elizabeth Harper, with a calm yet assertive presence, turned her attention towards Derek Sanders. Her arrival had already altered the dynamics of the cafe, and now, with all eyes on her, she addressed the situation that had brought her directly from her corporate office to this bustling Chicago location. Elizabeth was known for her decisive leadership and a keen sense of justice, qualities that were about to be tested. Derek, caught off guard by the CEO's direct involvement, struggled to maintain his composure. His usual confidence wavered under her scrutinizing gaze as she questioned the rationale behind his decision to dismiss Michael, a young barista known for his dedication and exemplary customer service. Derek's response, stuttered and lacking conviction, did little to clarify the situation. His explanations, muddled by nervousness, failed to align with the values Elizabeth had painstakingly instilled throughout her company. Elizabeth, unsatisfied with Derek's shaky justifications, turned her focus to Michael, who stood nearby, a silent observer to the unfolding drama. Despite his recent dismissal, Michael maintained a dignified composure, his demeanor reflecting the professionalism that had originally made him a valued employee. The brief interaction between Elizabeth and Michael, though devoid of extensive dialogue, was enough for her to gauge the sincerity and potential in the young man. Convinced of Michael's unjust treatment and recognizing his potential for greater responsibility, Elizabeth made a decision that would not only rectify an immediate wrong, but also set a precedent for how such situations should be handled across her business empire. She reinstated Michael, not just to his former position, but with a promotion to manage one of the premier Busy Bean locations in Chicago, a move that spoke volumes about her trust in his abilities and her commitment to fairness. This decision was met with a mix of shock and relief by those within earshot, including the staff and customers who had witnessed the entire episode. Derek, now visibly deflated and marginalized, could only watch as Elizabeth took proactive steps to ensure that the values of Busy Bean were not just upheld, but championed. As Michael processed the swift turn of events that had transformed his professional crisis into an unexpected opportunity, Elizabeth finalized her intervention. With Michael's future at the company now promisingly redirected, she began to address the broader implications of the incident. Her actions today would ripple through the ranks of Busy Bean, reinforcing a culture of integrity and respect. Elizabeth's handling of the situation not only reinstated Michael, but also sent a clear message to all employees about the kind of leadership and ethical considerations they were expected to exhibit. As she prepared to leave the cafe, her mind was already on the next steps, ensuring that such a misunderstanding wouldn't occur again under her watch. Assuming the role of manager at one of the premier Busy Bean locations in Chicago brought with it not just the excitement of professional advancement for Michael, but also a more complex array of responsibilities that extended beyond customer service and daily cafe operations. Almost immediately, Michael found himself navigating a labyrinth of managerial challenges that went far deeper than he had anticipated. Upon taking over his new position, Michael began a thorough review of the cafe's operations, policies, and financial records, a routine step to acquaint himself with the workings of his new domain. However, it wasn't long before he encountered a series of anomalies that raised his suspicions. Documents related to supply orders and vendor contracts, which should have been straightforward, contained inconsistencies that hinted at possible overcharges and unapproved transactions. The numbers didn't add up, and the paper trails led to convoluted paths that often circled back to Derek and a select few other executives within the company. As Michael delved deeper, he also discovered a cache of employee complaints that had been systematically ignored or inadequately addressed. These ranged from issues of unfair work practices to more serious allegations of harassment and discrimination. These revelations were disturbing, suggesting a pattern of behavior that contradicted the ethos Elizabeth Harper championed. It became apparent to Michael that these were not just isolated incidents, but part of a broader culture of corruption and manipulation that had somehow taken root under the previous management. The more Michael uncovered, the clearer it became that the problems at Busy Bean were systemic, implicating several layers of management in practices that were ethically and perhaps legally dubious. These discoveries were disheartening for Michael, who had believed in the company's commitment to integrity and transparency. Now, faced with the reality of the situation, he knew he had to act. Determined to bring these issues to light and rectify the course, Michael began organizing his findings, preparing to present them to Elizabeth Harper. His resolve was fortified by his belief in the foundational principles of the company and his own personal commitment to fairness and justice. As he pieced together the evidence, Michael became a catalyst for change, poised to expose the depth of the corruption that had beset the Busy Bean chain. With his extensive report nearing completion, Michael prepared for a crucial meeting with Elizabeth, where he would lay out his findings in detail. This preparation marked a critical juncture in his career and in the trajectory of Busy Bean itself, setting the stage for a confrontation that could reshape the company's future. Michael, now deeply entrenched in his role as manager, recognized that the issues at Busy Bean went beyond mere managerial incompetence or isolated incidents of misconduct. The inconsistencies in documents and the complaints from staff suggested a systemic problem that could undermine the very foundation of the company's integrity. Determined to get to the bottom of these issues, Michael embarked on a discreet investigation that would pull him deeper into the murky waters of corporate deceit. Armed with a methodical approach and a keen eye for detail, Michael began to trace the financial discrepancies back to their sources. He scrutinized invoices, cross-checked delivery records, and analyzed email correspondences that hinted at unauthorized deals and possible kickbacks. Each piece of evidence he uncovered seemed to connect more dots, revealing a complex network of dubious practices that extended beyond simple financial mismanagement. The investigation also led Michael into the digital realm, where he discovered a sophisticated operation to manipulate online reviews. This operation not only involved internal staff, but also external parties that were contracted to boost the cafe's ratings across various platforms. These fake reviews painted a falsely glowing picture of Busy Bean locations that did not reflect the reality, misleading customers and potentially damaging the trust that had taken years to build. As Michael delved further, he used a combination of data analysis tools and internal audits to map out the relationships and transactions that formed the backbone of the corruption. It became evident that this network was not the work of a few rogue employees, but a coordinated effort by individuals at different levels of management, including some who were close to Derek. The sophistication and extent of these practices suggested that they were long-standing and had been cleverly concealed behind the veneer of corporate success. Each discovery fueled Michael's resolve to expose the corruption, knowing that the longer these practices continued, the more damaging they would be to the company's reputation and the morale of its genuine employees. The deeper he went, the more he understood the risks involved, not just to his career, but to his personal safety. Yet, the need for transparency and accountability drove him forward. As he gathered irrefutable evidence, Michael prepared for the next phase of his plan. He began compiling a detailed report outlining the extent of the corruption, the methods used, and the parties involved. This document was to be comprehensive, intended to serve not only as a record of his findings, but as a blueprint for the necessary reforms within the company. With his investigation nearing completion, Michael prepared to bring his findings to Elizabeth Harper, whose support would be crucial in addressing the corruption. The stage was set for a meeting that would not only test his resolve, but also determine the future direction of Busy Bean. As he organized his notes and evidence, Michael was acutely aware of the weight of the information he was about to present and the potential fallout it could entail. With the culmination of his meticulous investigation, Michael was now poised to reveal the extent of the corruption within Busy Bean. He arranged a crucial meeting with Elizabeth Harper, aware that the evidence he carried could not only shake the foundations of the company, but also redefine its future. This was a pivotal moment, both in his career and for the integrity of the entire corporation. Michael meticulously organized his evidence, ensuring each document was clear and each instance of malpractice was well documented. He had created a comprehensive dossier filled with financial records, emails, and analysis reports that traced the corruption from its roots to the branches that spread across various levels of the company's hierarchy. The preparation for this meeting was exhaustive, as he understood the implications of his findings and the need for clarity in their presentation. When the day arrived, Michael met with Elizabeth Harper in a private conference room, a setting that underscored the gravity of the discussion. The atmosphere was tense, charged with the anticipation of revelations that could have far-reaching consequences. Michael presented his findings methodically, revealing the network of bribery, the manipulation of online reviews, and the systematic neglect of employee grievances. He laid out the roles of various executives, including Derek, illustrating how deeply ingrained the corruption had become within the company's culture. Elizabeth Harper, a CEO who prided herself on her commitment to ethical leadership, was profoundly shaken by the revelations. The extent of the betrayal within her own ranks was a jolt to her, challenging her trust in her team and her understanding of her company. Yet her response was swift and decisive. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, she immediately ordered a comprehensive audit of the company, aimed at unraveling every thread Michael had highlighted. The audit itself was a thorough affair, bringing in external auditors to ensure impartiality and depth in the examination. As the investigation under the audit widened, it corroborated Michael's findings, leading to significant consequences for those involved. Derek and several other executives who had been implicated in the web of corruption were terminated from their positions. This move was not just about removing the rotten elements, but also about sending a strong message throughout the organization about the seriousness with which ethical breaches were treated. The fallout from Michael's revelations and the subsequent audit rippled through the company, initiating a series of changes in policy and personnel. Elizabeth took this opportunity not only to clean house, but also to implement new measures that would safeguard the company from similar issues in the future. These measures included enhanced transparency, stricter compliance protocols, and a revamped approach to employee relations, ensuring that grievances were heard and addressed promptly. As the company began navigating through the aftermath of these revelations, Michael prepared to step into a broader role, tasked with helping to guide Busy Bean through its next phase of rebuilding and ethical realignment. His courage and diligence had not only exposed deep-seated corruption, but had also paved the way for a new era at Busy Bean, one hoped to be defined by integrity and transparency. In the aftermath of the sweeping changes initiated by Michael's investigation and the subsequent audit, Busy Bean embarked on a significant transformation. Under new management, led by individuals who had demonstrated unwavering integrity and a commitment to the company's core values, the cafe chain began to rebuild its reputation and operations. This period of reconstruction was marked by a palpable shift in the company's culture, one that prioritized transparency and ethical practices above all else. The new management team, with Michael playing a pivotal role, instituted a series of strategic initiatives designed to foster an environment of openness and accountability. Every policy that was put in place and every decision that was made were now funneled through this new ethical framework. This wasn't merely about compliance, but about setting a new standard for how business should be conducted within Busy Bean. Training programs were overhauled to not only focus on job skills and customer service, but also on ethical decision-making and the importance of whistleblowing mechanisms. Employees at all levels were encouraged to speak up without fear of retaliation, assured by the new grievance handling procedures that promised not only to listen, but to act. The transparency extended outward from internal operations to customer interactions. Busy Bean's marketing campaigns and customer communications now emphasize the company's commitment to integrity and quality, promising an honest cup of coffee. This message resonated well with customers, who gradually began to return, drawn both by the quality of the products and by the company's clear stance on ethical business practices. Social media platforms, once a ground for manipulated reviews, were now managed with a new level of honesty and direct engagement. Customers appreciated this direct line of communication, and their feedback began to reflect their renewed trust. Positive reviews started to flow naturally based on genuine customer experiences rather than fabricated endorsements. Inside the cafes, the changes were evident in the happier, more engaged staff and in the quality of the service provided. Employee satisfaction scores, a metric once ignored, were now closely monitored and discussed in management meetings. These scores steadily climbed as reforms took root, reflecting a workforce that felt valued and respected. As Busy Bean began to flourish under this renewed ethos, the entire chain experienced a resurgence not just in profitability, but in its corporate soul. The community around Busy Bean, from suppliers to local business partners, took note of the transformation, leading to new collaborations based on shared values of integrity and respect. This revitalization of Busy Bean was not just about recovering from past mistakes, but about setting a new course for the future, one that promised sustainability and growth founded on ethical principles. As the company prepared to open new locations and introduce new products, The lessons learned from the recent past remained at the forefront of planning and decision-making, ensuring that the shadows of the past would not cloud the bright future now being charted. As Busy Bean blossomed under its new ethos of transparency and ethics, a significant celebration was planned to honor the sweeping changes that had revitalized the company. This event was not just a party, it was a public acknowledgement of the past struggles and a declaration of the company's renewed vision. The venue was festively decorated, reflecting the vibrancy and optimism that now characterized the Busy Bean chain. Employees from various locations, key stakeholders, and even some loyal customers gathered in a large, beautifully adorned hall, their faces alight with anticipation and pride. Elizabeth Harper, the architect of this transformation, was the centerpiece of the evening. Poised and graceful, she moved through the crowd, her presence reinforcing the sense of unity and forward momentum. The atmosphere was electric, charged with the collective realization of what they had overcome and the potential that lay ahead. As the evening progressed, the time came for Elizabeth to address the gathering. The room quieted, every attendee's attention fixed on her as she took to the stage. The lights dimmed slightly, focusing on Elizabeth, who stood confidently, a symbol of strength and resilience. Her speech began with a heartfelt acknowledgement of the challenges they had faced, a tribute to the dedication and hard work of every member of the Busy Bean team. She spoke of the dark days, the tough decisions, and the unwavering commitment to doing what was right, even when it was not easy. Then the tone of her speech shifted to one of deep personal revelation. Elizabeth disclosed a surprising twist that few could have anticipated. She revealed that the elderly couple, Harold and Martha Jenkins, whose interaction with Michael had sparked the chain of events leading to the company's overhaul, were none other than her own parents. This disclosure elicited a wave of murmurs and surprised glances around the room. She explained that the anonymous message, which had brought her to the cafe that fateful day, was sent by her mother, who had witnessed Michael's kindness firsthand. Elizabeth shared how this personal connection to the incident had driven her to not only protect the values of Busy Bean, but to reinforce them across every layer of the company. The revelation that her own parents had been directly involved brought a new layer of intimacy and urgency to her actions, highlighting her personal stake in ensuring the company's integrity. The crowd listened, deeply moved by Elizabeth's transparency and the unexpected personal stakes she held in the transformation she led. Her speech not only clarified the origins of the changes, but also humanized her as a leader, intertwining her personal history with the corporate narrative. As applause broke out across the room, echoing warmly off the walls, the celebration took on a new depth of meaning. It was a moment of unity, a collective realization of the personal and professional journeys that had intertwined to bring them to this point. The event continued with a renewed spirit of camaraderie and celebration, with employees and guests alike sharing stories and aspirations for the future. As the evening wound down, Elizabeth's revelation continued to resonate with those present, setting the stage for the continued evolution of Busy Bean, a company that had not only transformed its practices, but had also deeply embedded the personal values of its leader into its mission. This moment of celebration thus transitioned seamlessly into an era of sustained growth and ethical commitment, preparing everyone for the new chapters that lay ahead. The revelation made by Elizabeth Harper about the true identity of Harold and Martha Jenkins had an indelible impact on everyone present at the celebration. This surprise unveiling did more than just provide a dramatic twist to the evening. It served as a poignant reminder of the profound effects of seemingly small acts of kindness. For Michael, the news was particularly startling. The very act of compassion that had led to his dismissal, taking the time to assist an elderly couple with the menu, had unknowingly involved the CEO's own parents and had set off a chain of events that ultimately safeguarded his career and shifted the company's ethos. In the days that followed the celebration, Michael found himself reflecting deeply on the interconnectedness of actions and consequences. His simple, kind gesture towards Harold and Martha had not only reversed his misfortune, but had also propelled Busy Bean into a new era of ethical business practices. This realization underscored a powerful lesson that resonated throughout the entire company. Kindness and ethical behavior, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, are capable of bringing about substantial change. Under Michael's leadership, this ethos began to permeate every aspect of Busy Bean's operations. Employee training programs were revamped to emphasize empathy and ethical conduct as core values. Michael initiated community outreach programs that encouraged staff to engage in volunteer work, further embedding the principles of social responsibility into the company culture. These programs not only helped the community but also fostered a sense of team cohesion and pride among the employees. Moreover, Michael's story became a cornerstone of Busy Bean's brand narrative. Marketing materials and public communications highlighted his story as an example of the company's dedication to genuine service and corporate integrity. This narrative resonated strongly with customers who were increasingly drawn to businesses that demonstrated a commitment to real human values. Busy Bean's commitment to these ideals began to attract positive attention not only from customers, but also from industry peers and the media. The company started receiving recognition for its transformative business practices and its dedication to social responsibility. These accolades further reinforced the importance of maintaining and championing ethical standards within the business landscape. As Busy Bean continued to thrive under this new paradigm, the impact of Michael's initial act of kindness reverberated, inspiring similar actions within and beyond the company. The staff, emboldened by the company's support for ethical behavior, felt more empowered to act kindly and ethically, knowing that their actions were valued and supported at the highest levels of the organization. As the company prepared to usher in a new chapter of expansion and innovation, the value of kindness remained at the forefront of its mission. This principle was not just a part of employee training or marketing rhetoric. It was embedded in the strategic decisions and daily operations that defined Busy Bean's identity. The transformation initiated by a simple act of kindness had not only reshaped the company's culture, but had also set a benchmark for its future endeavors, ensuring that ethical conduct and genuine care for others continued to drive its success. In the quiet moments of early mornings, before the cafe doors swung open and the day's bustle began, Michael often found himself deep in thought. His new role as a manager had not only afforded him the authority to make substantial changes, but it also imposed a profound sense of responsibility. Reflecting on his journey, Michael was struck by the immense impact that a single act of kindness had had on his life. It was a moment that resonated deeply, reminding him that even the smallest gestures can have far-reaching consequences. This reflection led Michael to a firm commitment to uphold the values of care and customer support that had dramatically shaped his career. He saw these not just as policies to be implemented, but as personal tenets to live by. Michael believed that a business's success was intrinsically linked to how well it treated its people, both employees and customers alike. This belief became the cornerstone of his management style. To reinforce these values, Michael introduced several initiatives aimed at enhancing customer engagement and satisfaction. He personally trained new staff, taking them through customer service scenarios that emphasized empathy and responsiveness, rather than mere efficiency. He knew that customers remembered the service just as much as the product, and he wanted every interaction at Busy Bean to be memorable for the right reasons. Moreover, Michael implemented regular team meetings where employees could share their insights and feedback on improving service quality. These meetings were not just procedural, but were designed to empower employees, giving them a voice in the company's operations and fostering a culture of open communication. Under Michael's leadership, the cafe also began to personalize the customer experience more significantly. Special attention was given to regular customers, with staff remembering their preferences and greeting them by name. This approach not only built stronger relationships, but also turned casual visitors into loyal patrons who felt a part of the Busy Bean community. Michael also extended his ethos of care beyond the cafe's walls. He partnered with local community centers to offer barista training programs, providing job opportunities to those in need. This initiative not only helped individuals build a career, but also strengthened the community's fabric, aligning with his vision of a business that served society. As Busy Bean's reputation grew under Michael's stewardship, so did the business. The cafe saw increased foot traffic, not just because of the quality of its coffee, but also due to the warmth and genuineness of the service. Michael's approach proved that prioritizing ethical management and compassionate service could drive success and sustainability in the business world. Reflecting on these achievements, Michael felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that his role was about much more than managing a cafe. It was about leading by example and setting a standard for how businesses should operate in regard to their communities and their people. As he prepared for yet another day, Michael was mindful of the ongoing challenges but remained undeterred, fueled by the belief that integrity and kindness were indispensable ingredients in the recipe for lasting success. With Michael firmly established as a paradigm of leadership within Busy Bean, Elizabeth Harper saw an opportunity not only to solidify the changes that had been set in motion, but also to expand on them. Her confidence in Michael's leadership was complemented by her vision for Busy Bean to serve as a beacon of corporate integrity and ethical business practices. This vision was ambitious and required a comprehensive strategy to weave the principles Michael had championed into the very fabric of the company's culture. To accomplish this, Elizabeth initiated a series of training programs that were innovative in their approach and scope. These programs were meticulously crafted to imbue employees at all levels with the core values of honesty, kindness, and customer care that Michael had exemplified. More than mere training, these sessions were transformative experiences that encouraged employees to consider their roles within the company, not just as jobs, but as opportunities to make a positive impact. The training extended beyond the basics of coffee making and customer service. It included modules on ethical decision-making, leadership development, and community engagement. Employees were taught to identify ethical dilemmas and were empowered to act in ways that aligned with the company's core values. These sessions often included interactive workshops and real-life scenarios, helping staff to practice and internalize these principles. As these training programs rolled out across all locations, Busy Bean began to witness a remarkable transformation. The cafes did not just function as places where coffee was served. They became community hubs where the principles of ethical business were palpable. Each location echoed the company's commitment to integrity, with managers like Michael leading by example. Elizabeth also spearheaded the development of a new corporate social responsibility (CSR) initiative that integrated Busy Bean more deeply into the local communities. This program focused on sustainability, from the sourcing of coffee beans to minimizing waste in cafes, and on social initiatives such as supporting local homeless shelters and schools. These efforts were publicized not as marketing ploys, but as genuine attempts to give back, further enhancing the company's reputation as a leader in ethical business practices. The impact of these initiatives was profound. Busy Bean saw a significant increase in customer loyalty and brand strength. The company was frequently cited in business ethics case studies and had begun to attract top talent who were eager to work for a company that prioritized ethical practices as much as profitability. As Busy Bean continued to grow, so did its influence. The company's success story became a case study at business schools, discussed in forums focused on corporate ethics, and served as a model for other businesses aiming to integrate ethical considerations into their operational strategies. Reflecting on this legacy and the path forward, Elizabeth felt a renewed sense of commitment to her original mission. As she planned for the future, her strategy included not only expanding the number of cafes, but also deepening the company's impact on global corporate practices. The journey that began with Michael's simple act of kindness was now influencing a much larger narrative about how businesses could and should operate in society. With this legacy firmly in place, Elizabeth was poised to guide Busy Bean into a future where it could continue to set standards, not just for coffee, but for corporate responsibility and ethical leadership. This commitment to maintaining and expanding upon the values instilled by Michael was not just part of the company's strategy. As the applause cascaded through the festively decorated hall, Michael stood amid the celebrations, feeling the weight and promise of what lay ahead. The echoes of clapping hands were more than a mere acknowledgement of the evening's revelations. They were a testament to the transformative journey Busy Bean had undergone and the pivotal role he had played in that transformation. Every clap seemed to sync with his heartbeat, reinforcing his belief in the path he had chosen. Around him, the warm glow of the venue was filled with the laughter and chatter of colleagues, stakeholders, and patrons who had all come to embody the new spirit of Busy Bean. Each smile from a customer and each positive remark from an employee was a reminder to Michael of the impact one individual could have. These interactions were not merely transactional, they were relational, building the kind of loyalty and trust that could not be bought, but had to be earned through genuine acts of care and commitment. Throughout the room, employees shared their stories of change, how the new policies had not only improved their work environment, but had also inspired them to carry the principles of kindness and integrity beyond the workplace. They spoke of community projects they had initiated and the sense of fulfillment these efforts brought them. Michael listened, his heart swelling with pride and optimism, knowing that these stories were just the beginning. As the evening drew to a close, the room slowly emptied, leaving Michael in a reflective solitude. He looked around at the space that had been filled with so much energy and promise just moments before. It was here, in this room, that the renewed mission of Busy Bean had been celebrated, where the foundation for a future of ethical business practices had been strengthened. Standing there, Michael understood that his role as a manager was about much more than overseeing the operations of a cafe. It was about leading a movement within the business community, championing a cause that went beyond profit margins and market shares. It was about showing that business could be a force for good, that ethical practices could drive success and foster community spirit. The journey that had begun with his simple act of kindness towards an elderly couple had now evolved into a broader mission to ensure that Busy Bean remained a place where kindness ruled, where employees felt valued, and where customers left not just satisfied but inspired. As the last few staff members said their goodbyes and the lights dimmed, Michael prepared to leave, feeling ready and energized for the challenges and opportunities that awaited. He knew that the path ahead would require continuous effort and vigilance to uphold the values he cherished. But as he stepped out into the cool night air, Michael was confident. With each step, he carried with him the lessons of the past and the hopes for the future, ready to meet whatever challenges might come with the same compassion and resilience that had brought him this far.
So, if you're not subscribed yet, click on the subscribe button below and join our community. Thank you for your support and see you in the next videos.